Hello and welcome. Today is an update on my hair care journey for thinning hair. Our scalp does better when we have a great scalp care routine. So I decided to introduce serums and topicals and microneedling, things that were a bit on cutting edge, not talked a lot about 3 years ago. I struggle with hair loss and I have since about 47. I had this unexpected hair loss, just came out of nowhere. I've always had really thin hair. That was nothing new, but all of a sudden in the shower I was seeing these handfuls of hair that I had never seen before. Maybe something medically is going on here. And I was diagnosed with premenopausal hair loss, oh joy, and androgenetic alopecia, which is just a genetic predisposition to hair loss, as well as an unusual seasonal shed that could have been brought on by anything. Stress events, medication, being sick. At that time, it was probably stress. I was transitioning into a new job. So it's kind of a constellation of issues when you're losing hair, or very likely it can be, and it's just best to get a diagnosis. See what they think, let them give you some ideas. Now, 14 years ago, it was recommended that I go on 5% minoxidil and low-level laser light therapy, which now are pretty standard, and people would probably do that without going to the doctor. But caps really didn't exist. There was one cap, or you could do in-office treatments, and I still have my original laser cap. It was a lot easier than going in for the in-office treatments, and in the end, it ended up saving me money because I've been using this for years. And the in-office treatments weren't cheap either. So I started on low-level laser light therapy and 5% minoxidil, as well as a B12 shot. And over time, things stabilized. I really didn't have any major sheds. I didn't have any major hair loss until about 3.5 years ago. All of a sudden, the same thing started happening. Minoxidil and low-level laser light therapy had kept me in good stead for about 10 years, but all of a sudden, something else was going on, and I decided to seek additional treatments. And this was when I learned about skincare for the scalp. I had never really thought about it except for shampoo and conditioner, that your scalp is skin too, and it needs the fertilizer to grow and stay healthy, just like our skin. Our skin does better when we have a great skincare routine. Our scalp does better when we have a great scalp care routine. So I decided to introduce serums and topicals and microneedling, things that were a bit on cutting edge, not talked a lot about 3 years ago. I had had the Calecim hair growth system on my shelf, and then when I had this crazy shed, I was like, all right, let's give this a try. So I tried it about 3.5 years ago, got great results. When I went into the salon, they were like, well, what are you doing to your hair? It looks fabulous. And I agreed. And then I decided to monkey around with it a little bit, go on a maintenance program. And then I decided to get really crazy and go off my minoxidil. Not what I should have done. When I went off minoxidil, I had the worst thinning hair that I have had since 47. I had a huge wide part. All my hair started to fall out to the point where I was back to when I was 47 and feeling quite devastated about my hair loss. But I was making too many changes, and you guys pointed that out to me in one of my videos that, you're changing so many things. How do you know what's really working? So I went back to the drawing board, back to minoxidil. So minoxidil for me was not a replacement to the Calecim Advanced Hair System. It worked in synergy to give me better hair density, longer hair growth, staying in the anagen phase longer so that my hair could grow longer. I like the foam, and I have shown a technique, and I will show it here really quickly, that helps you administer the foam minoxidil so easily. I'm going to do it on my finished hair. That's how confident I am that you can do this too. I know a lot of you have said it, just like, I can't get it on, it makes my hair sticky, and then I have to wash my hair. Honestly, I don't find that. I just set the nozzle perpendicular to my scalp, do a very light pressure, and run it along. Sometimes I give it a little swirl if I get a drip, and I go very quickly with just very light pressure, very evenly, all throughout my scalp. No big foaming, no big mess. It has no odor. I love the unscented. I have no irritation as long as I stick to Rogaine. Sometimes the excipients or the additional ingredients in some of the formulas cause my scalp to really itch. I also want to share with you, my husband is on a hair loss journey. He's using a formulation from Hims, and it includes finasteride. Finasteride is another hair growth ingredient, a topical, and it can be an oral medication. He's using it topically and having nice results in combination with minoxidil. He'd used minoxidil for years because he also has hair loss history in his family, and minoxidil was working great. But then around 60, it kind of stopped working as well as it had, and he wanted to take the next step and has decided on topical finasteride with really nice results. In a few months, I'll be able to share some of his before and afters so you can share his results with the men in your life that might also be struggling with hair loss. So these were working great, and I hadn't stopped my low-level laser light therapy cap. So basically, I just jumped back in to this routine and I kind of got to a steady state. And then this spring, I saw another hair shed event. It was fairly typical, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to try another scalp serum. I've been using scalp serums with growth factors before, and I always use those just for general skin health. I use the Hale Scalp Serum in between my Calecim treatments. OS1 offered to let me try their new release, their OS1 Peptide for hair. Now this serum has the same peptides as their topicals, and I was like, why not? It's working great for my face and the skin of my body. I'm going to try this. So in addition to my rotating the Calecim 4 times a year, using my low-level laser light therapy about 3 to 5 times a week, and incorporating minoxidil, I was like, let's give it a go. So I have been using this for the last 3 months, and I'm going to let you know what I think about the results. Before I jump into that, I want to let you know that today also includes brand giveaways. Now these are going to be sent directly from the brand. I do my giveaways over on Instagram because it's a lot safer than the scamming that goes on here, and I just feel like I want to protect you and I want to protect myself. So these will be run on my Instagram platform. OS1 is giving 1 kit away, and Calecim has generously offered to give away 5 kits. So here are the rules. I'm going to put them down in the description. Give me the keyword. It's hair serum. Also subscribe to my YouTube channel and my Instagram channel. DM me over on Instagram why you're interested in trying either one of these serums, what your hair loss situation is, and how you feel these serums can help you. I also want to encourage you to seek out medical advice before you use either one of these, because even though these are not prescription formulas, they're just topical supplemental serums to help stimulate hair growth, improve scalp health, and help you retain the hair and the hair growth cycle longer. They should be discussed with your doctor before starting them. So that's my caveat. I hope you enjoy the fact that both of these brands have been so generous in offering these systems. I was over the moon that they were willing to participate in today's video. This is not sponsored. These brands are offering to give you their systems to try at home. Also, for those of you who win this kit, please come back and leave me a comment after 3 months on how your experience has been. It honestly takes 3 months, and sometimes 3 months after you've completed the system before you see a difference. So it can take up to 6 months to see the complete experience you're going to have with either one of these kits. After the 3.5 months of using the OS1 Scalp Serum, I did not have any shedding. I usually have a shed in the spring. Usually it's a light shed, especially if I'm keeping up with my minoxidil and my low-level laser light therapy. I had no shedding during the entire 3 months. And during that time, I did not use any other serums. I put everything else on hold except my minoxidil and my low-level laser light therapy cap. And I did choose not to use the optional derma roller that comes with that treatment, and I'm going to tell you why. At the end of August, it was time for me to incorporate the Calecim program, which I use 4 times a year. 6-week program, 4 times a year. So this serum has a needling tool as well, and I only like to needle on occasion. It's a very stimulatory process, and my personal opinion is that needling around the clock, just for me, is too much irritation to my scalp. Everyone is going to be individual. I also want to note that the derma roller that comes with the OS1 kit is under 0.3 millimeters, whereas the derma stamp that comes with the Calecim kit is 0.5 millimeters. So there is a difference on depth. This is definitely more intense. whereas the OneSkin roller causes a little bit less irritation. However, I choose not to use a needling tool year-round and just stick with using the microneedling tool during the 6 weeks that I'm doing the Calecim program. And then in between, now that I had such great luck, I'm going to be using the OS1 Peptide Serum. The Calecim 6-week programs comes with 6 vials. You're going to use half a vial during each treatment. So that's 2 treatments a week, half a vial each treatment, and the needling tool. I find that this program really jumpstarts my hair growth. I will note that during the transition between the OS1 and starting my Calecim system, there was about a week and a half, and my hair did start to shed after I stopped the OS1 and before I started the Calecim system. Now, your hair is naturally supposed to shed, so that's not unusual, but I just wanted to note that if you start seeing shedding between different stages, that is a natural phase in the hair growth cycle. Obviously, our hair sheds, it grows, it sheds, and it continues to grow. I especially noticed a hair shed when I stopped my Minoxidil and restarted it. And people have anecdotally told me as well that when they start Minoxidil, their hair sheds even more. So when I started my Calecim program this 6 weeks, I did notice more shedding than I would typically notice. But I'm hoping over the next 3 months that I'll notice that the hair growth is starting to fill in again, as well as keeping on top of my OS1 peptides year-round is going to definitely help keep my hair in the growth phase longer. Taking care of your scalp is just like taking care of your skin. You have to give it the type of products that are going to regenerate it, kickstart it. Our hair gets lazy just like our skin gets lazy. There's less cell turnover, and the more that we can do to help it along, the better we are, especially if we're experiencing abnormal shedding or abnormal thinning hair. Again, always talk to your doctor. There may be oral medications that might work for you better. In fact, I've honestly considered doing oral minoxidil, which you guys have told me, those of you who've tried it, have had nice success with it, or go in for some PRF or PRP injections that you can get at your dermatologist. They'll spin down your blood, take off the plasma, which has lots of growth factors, cytokines, exosomes, all those secretions from stem cells that help regenerate. And I've considered that, but I haven't gone through with that, given the fact that these home programs are working for me. And if I'm consistent with my home programs and rotating them properly, I seem to be able to manage my hair loss really well at home. I'm wondering if any of you could share in the comments what you're using for thinning hair. The more we know and the more we share, the more we can learn from each other. I just find this community so helpful and so supportive. Thinning hair can be very emotional, especially when your scalp starts showing and it just gets a little bit embarrassing. I have had those moments over the years, and these type of systems have really helped me keep my confidence, feel good about myself, and I honestly understand and empathize with those of you who have thinning hair. I am going to continue with my low-level laser light therapy 3 to 5 times a week, continue the OS1 Peptide Serum year-round when I'm not using the Calecim Advanced Hair System, and of course, use my Minoxidil. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to join the giveaways for the Calecim, 5 winners for the Calecim Hair System, and 1 lucky winner for the OS1 peptides. Wishing you all a hair-tastic and a very skin-tastic day.